Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Do What You Love, Love What You Do. Got a good friend of mine on the show, former classmate, another HU graduate. You know I love to have
HU?
HU. Yep, love to have HU graduates on the show. He's just doing a phenomenal things. Mr. Jonathan Bailey on the call with us if you're watching via YouTube, you're watching this, and then if you're listening on your way to work on the podcast, guys, just dial in, take some notes. This guy's doing crazy things up in the East Coast, DC area, and we're just gonna talk to you guys about some entrepreneurship, some social entrepreneurs, and he's just gonna give us some tips that can help us. And so, Mr. Bailey, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just give us your background real quick, man. We're gonna dive right into it.
For sure, for sure. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So I am a social entrepreneur. I am also the founder of an organization called the Shine Heart Family. What we do is recognize and connect the nation's top Black millennial leaders. Then we unify them to educate and inspire the next generation of young Black leaders. So our primary goal is just to create more visibility in a variety of industries, because I believe that if I see someone like me doing it, then I believe I can do it too. And it's so important for us to be who we needed when we were younger. So a large focus of our organization is to highlight doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, makeup artists, corporate professionals. I mean, we kind of cover the whole gamut of young Black millennials to highlight them and tell their stories. And then we also bring them to the community to do talks like panels, workshops, keynotes, and connect these leaders with these young, passionate, next generational students and young professionals.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about that connection piece. So me and you both, you said I got my HBCU shirt on. We both went to Hampton. How did that connection piece, that relationship piece, just going to HBCU, has that played a role in your thought process and how you developed the Shine Hard family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, going to Hampton really changed my life. It was transformational for me as a young Black boy from Petersburg, Virginia. I hadn't seen so much Black affluence, Black excellence. I got very inspired by activism, Black power. So my experience at Hampton was, invaluable in that way. And then coming out of Hampton, I feel like the HBCU experience is very much like a bond, and when you see other Hamptonians, when you're in their city, they welcome you into their homes. I've surfed a lot of couches in my entrepreneurial days, and much respect to my Hampton family, for allowing me to crash. So yeah, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. So Johnny, tell us about your job history, man. So walk us through, let's say, after you finished and until you just made that decision. Hey, this is something I want to do. I want to really help people and impact lives, and not work that the 9 to 5.
Yeah, man. So it's really funny because here in America, we have to decide what we're going to do with the rest of our lives at like 17. Like, what are you going to major in college and do for the rest of your life? And at the time when you're a kid, you don't realize how ridiculous that is to ask a kid to do. But now I realize how hard it is for people to find their purpose in life and people to find their passion. And a big part of my work is to help people find their purpose and walk in that, and and succeed and flourish in that walk. And for my journey, much of my passion now has come from my journey starting off in sports. I studied sport management at Hampton, got a master's degree from Virginia State in marketing. Worked for a sports agency for a few years, had some ups and some downs, decided that wasn't really in line with my moral compass. Then took another step to work for Nike. My first internship was with Nike ID, where we did a nationwide tour working with nationally ranked high schools and blue chip athletes to create that grassroots marketing experience. And then from there, I got to work events like Super Bowl, All-Star Weekend, World Basketball Festival, which just blew my mind. And it just let me know, this is possible for you. So it gave me a ton of confidence. I had like a corporate car with my name on it, and I'm swiping it to get gas and getting
Yeah.
hotels. And I'm like, wow, like, I had a gust of confidence of like what was possible for me. Um, so that was my Nike experience. I didn't always have the positions that I loved, and at some point in that, I did feel underutilized. There's a lot of politics that go in the corporate world as well.
Right.
So that was something that I was battling and feeling discouraged about. Like I wasn't getting the job that I felt like I deserved a couple of times. And so I'm like, man, like I need to create. I need a role where I can create something. So outside of Nike, I just started a blog. I just logged on to YouTube and said, how do you build a website? I built a website on WordPress, and I just started publishing content. If you were seeing my room back then, I had like a corner with all these notes and schedules and papers and ideas and values and vision board. I'm like, immerse myself in my vision, right? And I'm reading all these books, like Think and Grow Rich, The Compound Effects, E-Myth. I'm reading like tons of books, like just inspiring me at the time. And I'm like, man, I'm going to start creating this content. So when I started to publish stuff online, people started to celebrate it. People were like, it was connecting with people, and they were inspired, and they were empowered, and they were entertained. And I'm like, maybe I have something here, with this. Like this is impacting people's lives more directly than me working for the dream job at Nike. And you know what they say, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Right. Right.
And I started for a while. I was living two lives. So I was doing the entrepreneurial thing, kind of just really not even an entrepreneur, just kind of like a creator at the time. It was just like freelancing, blogging for myself.
Right.
And that started to pick up steam. And then people started to celebrate the interviews. Shine Hard started to come about, and like, oh, okay, you're doing interviews. You're recognizing Black people, amazing Black millennials that are doing dope things. And so the consistency of that started to catch steam because I'm cross branding with so many popular and impactful people. And so their audience is being exposed to my brand and to our platform. And just the compound effect of that allowed us to grow really fast. And at some point, 2015, I just decided that I was just going to jump off the cliff and learn how to fly on the way down. I'm like, I got enough momentum and traction here that I can figure this is valuable enough. And it was a risk because I'm leaving that comfortable, cushy job and benefits to try to make something for myself when I had no idea what it meant to be a social entrepreneur at that time. So I started to use everything I had, my skills as marketing, as web development, everything that I had learned in the journey. I started to sell my skills and do work for other people just to stay afloat.
Yeah. So let's try to answer some questions, right? So my first question for you is, what kind of advice would you give someone maybe in your shoes in our shoes, me and your shoes? Like, we're comfortable, we got jobs, right? But we have this idea and we don't know if it's going to work or not, but we want to see if it's going to work or not. What advice would you give that person?
Well, I would say everyone's not meant to be a full-time entrepreneur. And every idea isn't that idea that will make you a full-time entrepreneur, even if you are meant to be a full-time entrepreneur. So I think you have to use a lot of discernment and discretion in your decision-making, and evaluate your circumstances in your life. Like if you have a family, or if you have a ton of student loan debt, or you have whatever circumstances that you have, is like you have to be strategic about how you go about making your moves in your career. So I would just say, try to get some traction. Like, start making money in your side hustle before you take that full leap of faith. Like, don't do it the way I did it. That was crazy.
Yeah, man. A lot of people jump off. I got a good friend that went to Hampton with us. Matter of fact, walked away from a Fortune 500 company out there in Dallas, Texas, and he took that leap, man. And he's loving it. You know, it's been some rough times, and as you probably I'm gonna ask you, but you know, you just gotta do it, man. And I want our listeners, our viewers to know, like, you know, you are the example. Like you said earlier, like you can really put your mind to it. You can do it.
Absolutely.
That's definitely a true statement. So really share some of those like downtimes. Like what you know, I know me and you always use like we learn from our mistakes, but the reality is those mistakes can really bring you to the point where like you like, man, bump this. I need to go back to work and make some money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had some hard times, and I've definitely learned in the school of hard knocks. Um, a lot of times I'm learning as I go. And, you know, I've done a lot of things that have set me back, maybe not knowing it at the time, and maybe just call it an expensive lesson. But I mean, some of the hard times, I mean, just to think about not having a lot of income. Like I saved up like 15K when I was at Nike, and then just took a leap of faith, and that money starts to dwindle pretty fast. Like I'm living with my girlfriend, or you know, we're living in a studio apartment. I kind of just crashed her place really, and then she just took me in, and you know, that's stressful on her, you know, because she's carrying the load, and you know, obviously she sees the vision and the work, but it's like at some point money can cause a strain on any relationship if it's not balanced, you know. So that was on my back, always over my head, and like having to work, and you know, working super long hours, waking up at 7 a.m. and working all the way through the day, going to Starbucks, working till 9, coming home, working till 2 or 3 a.m., creating content. You know, one lesson that I did learn from this whole journey is like how to outsource, how to schedule, and how to automate. That saves so much time.
So that's good. So explain the outsource and the automation part, because a lot of us, like myself, like I've used when I learned Fiverr. Fiverr was a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, Fiverr is the
Lifesaver.
fucking go-to, bro.
Yeah, Fiverr was a lifesaver. So explain really real quick, or define what does outsource and automation means, because some of those terms may be for our newbies, maybe you know kind of foreign to them.
For sure. So outsourcing is finding a expert or technician to do a particular job for you, or a consultant that you need digital marketing, or you need graphic design, you need graphics for your social media. So yeah, you could go on Canva yourself and you know create all these graphics and spend your time doing that. But your time as an entrepreneur is probably more valuable, you know, setting up meetings with a potential partner, or talking to clients, or doing marketing to get more business. So you have to determine how you're going to use your time. And so many of us spend our time doing technician work when we need to be doing entrepreneurial work. So when we talk about Fiverr is a place where and I should be getting paid to promote them like this.
Yeah.
Talk about Fiverr, there's tons of freelancers there that will do work for very, very affordable costs.
Yeah, man. And so, what about the automation? Do you automate your emails and things like that? And how does your automation, your system work?
Well, I use MailChimp.
Yep.
That's my primary email marketing platform. And automation is just the process of like creating emails in advance and putting them into a queue where when someone subscribes to your list, they will essentially get this series of emails. So you can, and each email that they get subsequently is upon their behavior in the previous email. So it can get pretty sophisticated depending on how deep you want to go with it. But just from a general automation, you can just have like 4 emails. So kind of onboarding your subscribers, and it really creates better engagement, better conversion if you're selling a product or a service. And it saves you a ton of time from having to go in and type a new email every single week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I'm very familiar with MailChimp. I've used that now with some of the events that I use, and use it for my monthly newsletter as well. So MailChimp is pretty good when I was introduced to it. So I'm Dreamchaser Academy. We're really big on relationships and mentorship. How has a mentor played a role in your life, and how long did it take for you to realize that like you really needed a mentor and that you wouldn't be able to do it on your own?
Well, most of my mentors have been digital mentors. Ironically, I haven't really had a mentor in my life that I actually knew. Like I've had, I guess, figures throughout the years, but it's never been a consistent mentor that I can look at today. I'm like, because of you, I made it. But all my mentors were like online, like Jim Rohn, Les Brown. Um, I looked up to Diddy. A lot of his stuff that he was saying about business was really resonating with me. Zig Ziglar, Martin Luther
You old
King.
school, man. You old school, man.
Yeah,
These young cats don't know nothing about no Zig Ziglar,
they
man.
don't know about Zig, bro. But he has some good stuff when it comes to sales and mindset and Napoleon Hill. Like I am very old school and fundamental with my philosophy stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Zig Ziglar, I listen to his audios, Jim Rohn,
Mm-hmm.
all those guys, man. So we definitely on the same page there with that. And I definitely dig you on that. So what does shine hard mean? Why should we shine hard? It makes sense to me. And I definitely love the play on words, the brand itself, the simple logo, and what you guys represent. So why should we shine hard?
Man, shine hard means pursue your passion, stay consistent, follow your dream, and excel. Man, it's celebrating Black excellence. It's just a reminder that every day you can achieve your dream. You can walk in your purpose, and passion changes everything.
Yeah, so when we talk about passion and going after your purpose, like when I'm talking with a client, they have all these ideas and they want to do this and they want to do that. You mentioned it earlier, you got to find that balance. But that's that fear factor of, what if I fail? What if I let my family down? What if I, spend my savings and I don't get anything in return and I have a family?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth the risk? Is it really worth the risk to really try something like that? What kind of encouraging words do you give those types of people?
Well, they say the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So I think sometimes we think about how we're going to make $1 million in an ineffective way. There aren't very many jobs that pay a salary of $1 million a year, unless you're like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or a board member of some major corporation. You're not going to bring in $100 million a year. $1 million a year. So what you have to do is decide how much income do you need in order to create generational wealth and make the investments that you need to build up your net worth. So it's easy for you to have a job and have a side hustle that brings in a stream of income for you. There's no shame in that. I think people over sensationalize that I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like that is not as important as how much revenue are you bringing in and how are you using your cash and your capital. I mean, if financial goals are in your view, like just bring in money and then use it the right way. It doesn't really matter how you bring it in. If you're needed to be focused primarily on one business in order to reap in that total amount of $100,000 a year, then yeah, be a full-time entrepreneur. But if you can also make 70 grand at your day job that you're comfortable with and make 40 grand on your side hustle, then you're making $110,000 a year. And now you have the capital to make moves and, reinvest that.
So that's really solid advice, and that's the boat I'm in right now. I love teaching, I love coaching. I won't give it up for anything, and I spend my summers, weekends, just extra hours, building Dreamchaser Academy and building other brands and business dealings and doing things like this, meeting with you. So that's the boat I'm in, Johnny. And you know, I don't know if some people are, is it that they're scared or they're not prepared to do it? That question comes to me a lot.
For entrepreneurship?
Yeah, they scared or they're not prepared.
I think people are not prepared. And I say that because most people don't start with why.
Mm.
And that's going to leave you unprepared. If you haven't identified your why, you're never going to be motivated or courageous enough to take that leap of faith and stick with it when it gets hard.
Well, have you read that book?
Oh
Start
yeah, absolutely.
by my man Simon Sinek. Yeah. Let's talk about some of your upcoming projects, man. You do different events, different seminars. Your team is growing. The energy is off the chain over here on the East Coast. Talk about some of the events and how have you been able to impact so many up and coming millennials and future entrepreneurs that are going to change the world.
Well, we're sitting down with some of the nation's top Black millennial leaders. They're inspiring, they're influential, and their testimony is half the battle. I mean, this organization would be nothing without the contributors of the leaders that have sat down with me and have participated in our events. So I'm very grateful and proud of the community that we've developed in the leadership category. We just wrapped up a panel event at Howard University School of Business, our first official HBCU partnership. They had a goal to create a sports and entertainment program for the School of Business, and they enlisted us to help them start building out that foundational groundwork for their program. So it was a very humbling event, honored to have that opportunity, and we sold out. It was over 200 kids, high school, college students, business students. So that was a huge event, a huge success. Next coming up, we have season 5 of the Shine Hard Conversation, which is our digital interview series. So if you have YouTube, you can just type in the Shine Hard family and watch interviews with all types of Black millennials from all across the country in different industries. And they tell their story, how they got into their field, the keys to success, even tackling some social justice and political issues too, which is really awesome. And then lastly, we have our annual conference coming up in September, which is the Shine Hard Summit. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that, it's going to be 30 to 40 millennial leaders all coming to DC to do panel events, workshops, one-on-ones, keynotes. We'll have some networking events to celebrate the weekend. It's going to be a really awesome opportunity and just a great time for Black excellence. So that's what we have coming up.
Yeah, man, definitely excited to hit that summit up this year. And let's kind of take a different street, man. You mentioned something called social justice. The buzz right now is the NFL. With that, I got friends that boycotted last year. I was on the borderline. My decision is already made now. No more fantasy football for me.
Oh,
and
bruh.
I won. Look, and I was second place last year. Won a nice little pot. But I can't do it, man. It was just a big blow. And I posted something on Facebook like, if there's a time for us to, for the blacks in the NFL to really make a statement, like this is the time now. That's how I feel. But everybody got mouths to feed. They got families too.
Yeah.
That's the job. So, what was your I guess your first initial reaction and to that rule? And if you could back up, how did you feel about Kaepernick when he first started it?
Well, when I first heard the ruling the other day, I felt confused. I'm like, is this a joke? Like, y'all gonna do a penalty? Like, it was, they went through a series of suggestions of what they were gonna do, and I was just confused. And it kind of took me back to Kaepernick initially kneeling and all the hoopla that went around that. And I respect what he's done and his courage to stand out that way 110%. But I also understand the confusion of, the media will take your action and they will twist it and turn it into something that it's not. And they've made his stance or his what's the word I'm looking for? His he made a statement. His statement, and they're trying to make it about the flag and about veterans and the military, and that's never what it was about. But when you take that way of making your statement, you leave yourself vulnerable. Maybe they didn't think it out. He just thought it was like he was just passionate in the moment, but he didn't think it out strategically of how that could be twisted. I mean, he's not a politician; he's a football player, so you can't expect him to be so strategic about his political moves. I mean, now he's probably much more surrounded by political people who can help him make good decisions. But all in all, I support it. I think it was for a good reason. I mean, I'm just as crushed as you when it comes to having to walk away from fantasy football. Because if it wasn't for fantasy football, I would already stop watching the NFL because they've been on this BS for like 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
But I have this league from Hampton. My teammates, my track and field teammates, we have HU Track League fantasy football, right? We've been playing since 2006. So we have like 12 years of league history that we're all so attached to. And walking away from that is hard. So I'm going to have to really do some soul searching this summer to determine if I'm going to watch football this year.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, it's rough, man. I've been in this league, finally made it to the championship last year. I was looking to come back strong, and that crap popped up on my phone.
Yeah, man. And I respect your stance, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what some of our athletes who speak out a lot, what they're gonna say about it. I'm interested to see that part as well. Well, man, let's wrap it up, man. So really, you left your information. I'm definitely going to put it below right here in the comment section. You will see the links to the YouTube, the links to the website, Instagram, podcast links as well. And I'll go share it with you so you can post and things like that. But really, man, just leave us with some encouraging words. What current books are you reading now? And how can we really just make that jump, man, and get over that fear of failing?
Man, well, one book I will leave you with is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a great book for financial literacy. I would recommend it to any entrepreneur or professional in the corporate world. Also, The E-Myth. The E-Myth is a great book because if you're having doubts about, am I an entrepreneur? Should I take the leap of faith? Will I succeed? That book will help you contextualize what it means to be an entrepreneur and how to go about that successfully. And even how you can enlist people that complement your weaknesses to help you succeed faster.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you being on the show again. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys just take the whole brand across the world and impact as many lives as you can. And I'm ready to shine hard, baby. So thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Y'all follow me at One Johnny Bailey on YouTube, One Johnny Bailey Instagram and Twitter as well.
There we go.